An animal? An animal? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Hello and welcome to the final podcast, the last podcast you will ever listen to.
Your final bros are fucking here. It's Brian Hopper LaGrasta and Shayna Complete and Total Mess Smith, joined by his brother Nicky, and we're here to discuss a well overdue movie in a horror podcast that has now exceeded 200 episodes.
Yes, we are doing The Evil Dead. Yeah, our original podcast was called Two Guys, One Necronomicon. You think we would have did The Evil Dead a lot sooner.
Or at least the remake or something. We did do Cabin in the Woods episode 5.
Yeah. So we're finally doing it. The original Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, Evil Dead.
Yeah. Like I said, well overdue. Obviously a horror classic. Practical effects is like one of the first movies that really like set the tone for what that's going to be in the 80s. Additionally, it definitely has like a low budget feel. But I feel like the camera flow is like really good in this movie and the way it's shot.
Yeah.
Even like the lead up of the movie, I love the fact that it's just like this roving evil that's just like trailing them through the fucking outside of the woods. Yeah, so cabin horror is like a just great.
We love
genre.
a good cabin horror.
Yeah, we also love Michigan State, right?
They're better than Michigan.
Okay.
Fuck Michigan.
Oh my God, Shane. Well, I was gonna say, at least for me, like this is probably one of the first zombie movies I've ever seen growing up. Because like I know there was a couple older ones, but I'm pretty sure this was the first one I ever really seen in terms of like
demons
zombie
and
type. Because like to be fair, these demons are disgusting looking.
Yeah,
and like the way they just change. They're like one of the characters, Cheryl. I feel like she has 3 different appearances throughout the movie. The one that's
there's a lot of forms.
Yeah.
I would like consider these are such a different type of demon too.
Yeah.
They're like flesh possessing demons.
Yes.
They're like demons that want to be in your body, in your skin, and wear it.
Yes.
And flaunt it.
Yes. They are flesh demons of the flesh.
Yeah.
Like Hellraiser, like Pinhead, he'd be getting off on these demons.
For sure.
He loves the flesh. This is just the story of like you never mess around in the basement.
No.
This is the original, just like, why are you touching the stuff in the basement? Why are you reading from a book made of human skin?
Yeah. I love it because like it's just like this whole escape and trip. Kind of like they're being set up to unleash the demon.
Yes.
The demonry is like almost like it's fated to happen to this group. Just by the way, like the cellar door pops open. You go out in the woods, you're gonna get fucked by the trees. Like it's just gonna happen.
The trees are very rapey.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and even before that, one of the girls, she's like drawing, and then like the demon somehow possesses her arm to draw the book.
Before they even get to the book.
And she doesn't even think about saying anything to anyone. Yeah. She just keeps that information to herself. And
just scribbles maniacally on a pad. Like literally, it's like one of the first things that happens. Like the shutters go open, the wind just blows. I think the wind constantly throughout this movie is just like, come join us.
Yes.
Is that what it says?
Yes. It is crazy. We're getting really deep into it. So before we get deeper, let's get deep into that spooky pit.
The Evil Dead, released in 1981. A group of friends go on a trip to a cabin in the woods where they unknowingly unleash demons hungry for their flesh. Like Shane mentioned, it's directed by Sam Raimi, stars Bruce Campbell as Ash, Ellen Sandweiss as Cheryl, Richard DeManencourt as Scott, Betsy Baker as Linda, Teresa Tilly as Shelley. Yep, that's the Evil Dead. That's the main 5 groups that grouping that goes to the cabin.
My favorite part of the Evil Dead series is there's literally no continuity.
Like with the way you kill people,
or no, well,
ruin the
that,
demons.
But just from movie to movie, It's just like in this movie, there's 5 of them in this cabin. In the second one, it's just Ash and his girlfriend in the same cabin like the first movie didn't happen. In the third movie, Ash just works at a hardware department and he gets transported to medieval times. Like, it's an absurd series, but every movie is really fucking good in it. And I just need to say that. Now let's talk about how there's no, like, positive of their trip going there. Their car falls through a bridge
right away.
There's no road.
They're like, oh, the bridge will be fine. They go over the bridge. Like their tire gets stuck. Like I think Ash looks out the window. There's like just like piles of like flanks of wood falling off of the side of the bridge.
They don't even think that happened. Like, we need to go back over this bridge to get home. It's already fallen apart the first time. Yeah, I don't know if they knew there was going to be a storm or whatever coming, but...
Yeah, they're going to be bad weather. But it does seem like something is keeping them there. Something does not want them to leave.
Yeah, it's like it's calling. Like, that's the thing. And you brought this up, I think, off air. It's like, how did they find this place to book it? I think the house calls you in almost.
Yeah, I think so.
Because didn't the other guy character, not Ash, didn't he say
Scott.
Like he got like a good deal on it or something like that when they were in the car ride? And like you said, when they're driving there, they're not even driving on a dirt road. They're just driving on a grassy
You
knoll.
would literally... There's no GPS.
No.
How the fuck do you find this place?
Only in the 80s could you find this place.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And like you, it happens so fast, right? Like, so they get there. The girl is forced to draw the Necronomicon, doesn't tell anyone about it, and then they have dinner, and the freaking basement door flies open. And you're like, that's kind of sus. Oh, it's dark. I would never go down there. Because it was also chained closed.
They blame it on an animal. They think an animal somehow opened it up, ran down there. Like, an animal could open up the chains or something, but you know what? Horror movie's got a horror movie, and
It does.
Scott goes down.
Yeah. Logic is kind of like thrown to the wayside sometimes.
Yeah.
Back in a minute.
Scott's kind of dumb.
dick?
He's
He's both, for sure. He's definitely a dick.
He's also just really dumb. He makes so many bad choices in this entire movie.
So this is where they're going to go downstairs, and I think Ash follows Scott down there.
He does.
And they're going to find some stuff. He's going to find the tape recording of the guy that they'll play the tape recording back, but it has like kind of like the backstory of like what's going on here and what he's uncovered and his recordings of it that he probably did in this basement. And then I think they also find, if I'm not mistaken, the actual Book of the Dead.
They do.
And they find like a sword.
Oh, the Sword of the Dead.
They find the Sword of the Dead.
Yeah, well, that's like that mantle, the skull.
That steaming skull.
Yeah. So they have the Book of the Dead, the Sword of the Dead, and the Phonograph of the Dead.
Yeah.
And this is where Scott's just the worst. He's gonna play it, right? And the one girl, which one's the one that's flipping out? Is like
Cheryl.
Cheryl is
actually Ash's sister, I think.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
No,
Really?
that-
There's
point,
one
they say-
passing line
Yeah.
that he's like, she's not your sister anymore, right?
Yeah, something
Oh, wow.
like that. Yeah, so
Got it. Because they're both, other ones are girlfriends,
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
I think Ash is with Linda and Shelly is with Scott.
Yes. And then Cheryl is Asher's sister, I believe. So, like, she's freaking out. She's like, stop playing this recording. Please, for the love of God, stop. So Scott's going to then fast forward it. And the second I heard Latin, I would have turned it off.
100%. 100%. But when they do play it, it is interesting to hear what the guy has to say, because he basically does say, like, in is it Kandar, the Kandarian
it's the Kandari
ruins or something? He found like this Book of the Dead that discusses like demons that will come and possess your body if you do the incantation, and then of course, without fail, he does the incantation.
So that's the thing. That recording's a fucking setup.
Oh, it is 1,000%. I feel like that whole thing was a farce. It never happened, and the demons did it themselves.
I was thinking the same thing, because he's like, whatever you do, do not utter these words that I'm going to say out loud right now.
Like, you can find these in the Necronomicon, but I feel like I should just share them this way. I should have, but I'm just going to do it.
So there is logic, but then there's also science. And everyone knows you got to try something out for science. You know, you see, these demons actually do exist. You know, maybe that's what that guy was thinking.
I love this scene, too. Is this where, like, the lightning just strikes the tree? Just casually strikes the tree?
Incredible. I love how they do, like, try to build up some, like, character between them by making Ash be romantic with his girl. And he gives her the little magnifying necklace, which is important, which is why I brought it up. He gives her a little magnifying necklace. And that's all great, and everything's hunky-dory until... Cheryl is going to go in her room by herself, and she's going to start seeing some things outside.
Yeah. Doesn't she, if I'm not mistaken, Cheryl hears like the join me out the window,
and
right?
she goes outside.
Yeah. And she goes outside, and this is a walk to remember. Takes me back, and I almost feel like this movie was inspired by Pirates on Ghost Island. If you catch my drift, the Final Friday movie we reviewed, where bitches be getting caught in vines and having sex with the trees.
Is it this? I don't know if this was sex, more as like tree rape.
Oh, that's fair. I'm just saying, like it was not consensual.
Oh,
she
no,
was definitely the tree was definitely groping her and attacking her.
And it dragged out for a while.
Yeah.
It was like a good, 3 to 4 minutes of just this tree opening her up and then sticking a giant branch in her.
Yeah.
It's crazy because the movie's like an hour and 22 minutes, but 4 of that is a tree fondling.
Yeah, it's true.
The tree, so it like wraps her limbs, and you know what really got me? The slow opening of the legs with the tree vines.
Yeah, it just like splits her legs
Open. And then it just fucking yams it in.
Yeah.
Like, no joke.
And even before that, the tree is just cutting her open everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
It literally was like ripping her shirt off, like provocatively. It was just so over the top.
There's a tit.
There it is.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the vine goes around it at one point.
Yeah, this is fucking sick.
It is sick. It is probably one of the sickest humanitarian dream type shit I've ever seen in my life.
She gets out of it.
She does.
She gets out of it and like rushes back to the place. And she's like, guys, I've been raped by plants.
She's like, the forest is bad. And then that's when they're like, oh, shit, we gotta like leave or something.
I think she wants to leave and everyone else is like, you're fucking crazy.
Your sister is a nut job.
Yeah, but don't they try to drive to the bridge?
Ash tries to. I feel like he reluctantly does it.
Yeah.
To bring Cheryl out of there, right?
City, yeah.
And then the bridge is just completely out. And then Cheryl's like, they don't want us to leave. Here are my scars.
And it's not like the bridge is out where it's like a bridge collapsed. Like the bridge is like folded upwards on itself.
Honestly, the bridge was never there.
Right?
They just got there.
They floated over.
The Harbinger took it out.
Yeah, right?
Because it is like clawed back over.
Yeah, it does almost look like a claw, right?
I mean, it is the one thing this movie was missing, right? There was no Harbinger.
No.
They just get there.
The Harbinger is the cellar door.
Or the guy that just does the incantation.
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, he does warn them.
Yeah.
He gives a lot of useful tips.
He warns them and then dooms them at the same time.
Yeah.
Because like once he does the incantation, you see like the rustling of the leaves and like almost like the brimstone from hell like popping up everything. Like the demons are coming out.
It's almost why maybe like all the stuff he says about dismemberment doesn't fully work because he's probably just bullshitting them.
Yeah.
Because really there's only one thing that stops them at the end. And I won't spoil it yet, but we'll get there. So everything's not great, but they're just going to spend the night, and then when it's daytime, they're going to try to hike.
Yeah.
The issue is they're playing this really fun game. Guess the card in my hand.
Oh, that's a fun game. And if I'm not mistaken, who's the one guessing? Is it Linda guessing?
Linda's guessing at first.
Yeah.
And she got one right.
Yeah, even though Shelly's like, oh, you're doing great.
She's getting them all wrong. Yeah, she is. Most part, she's getting them wrong.
But then out of nowhere, Cheryl's like, Ace of Spades, 2 of Hearts, Queen of Diamonds.
She just starts like floating in the air.
Oh
She
my
basically
God.
says that we're gonna get you all. You're not leaving here. Everyone will be possessed, and you're all gonna die.
Yes.
Pretty much.
I love the demon voices in this movie. The like the high pitched almost like
They're definitely like they're good, but I feel like they can get really annoying sometimes.
Okay. So when I think it's when Linda
Her
is
laugh.
laughing. Yeah.
I do feel like in terms of these demons compared to the newer movies, these are much more playful. I'm just gonna fuck around
Yeah,
with the demons.
I think that was the intent of this movie. Like they're just like we kind of got you here. We're trapping you, and we're just gonna like fuck with you and torture like you the entire night.
Because the demons know there's nowhere you can go. The trees will rape. Like you are stuck in this cabin.
You're stuck here, and like that. They're gonna mess with
So,
you.
like, how do the trees have this supernatural rapey ability? Where like there's actual demons, but are demons in the trees as well? Is that like what's supposed to be?
I think like that's like really not told in the
Lore.
the phonograph or whatever that was, like a recorder. It wasn't told. I wonder if it's something that is mentioned or is a part of like the incantation. But like clearly, like the whole ground is haunted. Like you could hear it like rustling. So I just think like this whole area is haunted, and the demons, like I think they're supernatural, and they just do go into your body once you're inflicted. Like
Yeah.
and they are inflicted once they, become like bloodied and weak, and it goes into them. The only thing is like I was a little confused about like how some people are getting possessed, but how Ash never gets possessed.
Because Ash was definitely cut up
Pretty badly by his Linda scratches his leg.
Think
Right?
of how much blood was shot into his mouth throughout the whole movie too. So I think that's the one thing.
Maybe
I
this
think the Evil Dead remake does a better job. Is you're not fully possessed till you die. Whereas this one, there's no rules. But then again, wasn't this like Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were friends, and they made this movie on like $10,000 or like something like absurdly low?
Clearly, it's a really that's what I would say though. With a low budget, I feel like they did really well with the shots, with the obviously with the blood, the effects, the practical. It was really strong. I feel like even the editing was really good in this movie.
Agreed.
Like I feel like they did a lot with what they had.
The budget for this movie was $350,000. And the gross box office, surprisingly, was very low at $2.5 million. Granted, they made a profit, but
Yeah.
I guess like there's no big names attached to this at the time. Obviously,
Bruce
Bruce Campbell
Campbell
and Sam Raimi are huge now, but at the time they weren't. And like this movie though is like honestly, when I think of 80s horror, this is like one of the first movies that comes to my mind. Like this is such a classic, and now that we're in with the demons, like you could sometimes tell legitimately like they're wearing a mask, or like that like you could see like their fingers underneath the claws and stuff like that. But like
the makeup though for demons is interesting. It's like this like weird like crusty white.
yeah, it's gross. This is like you said this movie's really gross.
Oh, it's extremely gross, especially when it gets towards the end and like just
The claymation.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god! And it's just real bugs start crawling out of people and shit. It's fucking nutty.
The one thing that's interesting with the demons, though, like in terms of Cheryl just looks different and super full out demon. But then Linda just looks like she has some clown makeup on.
Yeah, she does look like she looks like she just belongs in a sitting down position in the middle of a room in a haunted house.
Yes, because she's also just like, we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you.
Yeah, I just say, Linda was the only one that really didn't get the crazy makeover because like even Scott's face completely does a 180.
I feel like it changes so fast for Scott. I also like.
Well, Scott died, and I think that's why Scott changed so fast.
So maybe that is I just don't see the thing is like for Linda, like would Linda have died from her foot injury?
Well, we should mention that. So when Cheryl first attacks, Linda gets her, and probably the grossest scene in the movie.
Oh, the pencil.
She gets a pencil jammed into her ankle and twisted into her
That's
ankle.
like her Achilles or whatever. Like she potentially may not be able to walk on that foot anymore.
Ever again. Yeah.
Yeah.
She gets fucked up. And like she's incapacitated. She's brought out. The other girl is getting like she gets bit or she gets scratched across like the chest or something, and like
Which girl is that? Is that
it'd be Shelly.
Shelly?
Shelly,
Yeah.
Because she's gonna be the next to turn, right? Shelly turns next, and Scott just fucking cuts her to pieces with the sword.
He chops her head with the woodcutter axe. Yeah.
Yes, but he also has the sword, the
the
knife, the necro knife.
Yeah.
Because he stabs her in the back, and then she cuts her own like hand off trying to get it, and that's when he like dissects her into pieces.
Yeah, that scene is actually really cool because he has the knife. If I'm not mistaken, she needs to cut her hand right off in order to try to get out of it and to get the knife. But he has it, and then he just puts it behind her back.
Yep, and she starts melting, and like then
I like how the skeleton like literally smokes on the knife.
It's so cool. Like if the skeleton mouth bleeds and then smoke comes out of it, it's so well done. It's so cool to watch. And like even the dismemberment, because you see all the little body parts moving still on the ground, the head's still talking.
So like I know the head's like move like, so is it dead? So like in the clip it's like, oh, dismemberment kills him, but clearly it's
a lie. That's what I'm saying.
Around.
That man on there is a liar.
Yeah, it's like moving around, and I know they bury her body, right?
Yes.
They bury her body. I was so confused about the scene when I was watching it because I was like, why is she cutting off her hand that's on it? But I think because he like pretty much damages the hand so much, I don't think she could do anything with it.
And
right? That's why she cuts it off.
Cut it off. So she's buried. They now have Cheryl trapped in the basement with the locks.
That's funny.
And that's
she's just like up in there like the whole time, just like going up and down and talking.
Mm-hmm. And now Scott's like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to walk through the woods because Linda can't walk and you won't leave her. So I'm going to go without you guys.
Yep.
So Scott leaves and then Ash goes to check on Linda. And then you just see the warp of her leg and it takes her whole body over. And she's instantly the clown makeup demon now, as what you were calling it.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Like, she can't walk, but then she quickly walks and is normal again.
Well, she's a demon now, to be fair.
I know.
Demons have demon strength.
That's the demon power.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't really walk. She wasn't sitting Indian style most of the time.
She was. Her legs crossed.
Yeah.
So, like, because, like, I feel like they could only do what the human body was almost capable of.
Yeah.
Because, like, when they got, limbs cut off, like,
True,
they went back together.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I also want to point out, like, all this, Ash is the king of slapstick, where he's just thrown through shelves, has chairs and shelves broken over him, and then when Linda is laughing at him, he's just fucking decking her in the face, and she is just laughing through the whole thing. That son of a bitch smiled through the whole thing.
Oh, that's a Sin City reference.
Yeah. But literally, like, that's...
Yeah. That's what happens.
I was just saying, and then once Scott ends up coming back through the door.
I love it. I do love this scene where he just belts her.
Oh my!
He just smacks the shit out of her.
He is fucked up.
When Scott gets back?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he has wood sticking out of his, like, body. I think he's missing an eye.
I think his leg is shot, too. I think he's got, like, cuts on the back of his leg. Like, I think he's just shot. And he just, like, sits on the... And doesn't he, like... He doesn't... He, like, gives him, like, a drink.
Yeah.
And just, like, smears it all over his face.
Yeah, he just smears drink on his face.
And at that time, Linda's just sitting there, cross-feet, and she's just taunting Ash. And, like, making fun of him at that point.
Well, yeah, because she's like, you're not gonna leave here. You're not gonna leave here. I'm gonna eat your soul.
Oh, my God.
I turned into Chris Jericho demon for a second.
You kind of did sound like Chris.
Jesus.
Yeah, I guess it's, like, also, just to point out how gross, all of these demons' faces are just leaking, like, blood.
Oh, they're leaking. And the thing is, like, when you kill a demon, I feel like they just milk.
They do milk.
They just squirt milk.
Oh, yeah, they, like, shoot. Yeah, they just shoot out, like, a pump. I don't know. It's gross.
It's just all disgusting here.
It is. Like, every time a demon dies or something, just... It doesn't even look like blood. Just gushing.
Yeah. The demons also, they can play tricks on you.
Yeah.
They're trickster demons.
Absolutely trickster demons.
So you think they're a demon, they'll turn back into a human form, they'll try to seduce you. And then you have to realize you just got to punch him in the face. It's the only solution.
You smack him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Get him back in a demon form.
So in terms of Linda, when she does change, do you actually think that's the demon letting her go for a second to come back, and then he just takes right back over? Or the demon is just...
I think trickster. Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
trickster.
trickster.
Yeah, it's a fair thing to say. I thought trickster. She's also on her feet. I feel like if she was not a demon, she would not be able to stand up.
Yes.
With the Achilles injury?
Yes.
Yes. That makes sense.
So Ash, I also like it gets thrown into everything. He breaks everything, gets thrown into Scott, which probably finishes Scott off.
Scott's just like hanging by a thread, and he's getting so much worse.
Yeah.
Like the demon is just taking him over.
Ash eventually subdues Linda, and he brings her to the garage where he chains her up, and he's going to chainsaw her.
Yeah, because the dismemberment to kill her.
Yeah.
But he
can't do it.
can't do it.
He sees the necklace, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Double thinks. Yeah.
He takes the necklace from her, though, right? At this
Yes,
moment.
he does, yeah.
And he backs off. He doesn't chainsaw her,
He goes
which
the barrier then.
he
right?
does go to bury her. But she's like laughing at him, right? The whole time as he's burying her.
And then doesn't he like? She makes this incredible leap. She makes a leap for him. Like as they're fighting, she leaps for him,
Yes.
and that is when he has the shovel and he actually decapitates her with the shovel.
Yeah. And he does bury her, right? Too.
Yep. So there's two people that are buried. It's both of their girlfriends.
Yeah.
It's Shelly and
Linda.
Linda are buried.
So now Scott is still on the floor and Cheryl is still in the house. So Ash is going to go back in the house to get Scott. But that's when Cheryl's going to break through the bottom and she's going to like grab him.
She's gone, isn't she?
Yeah,
he
she
comes
is
back
gone.
and she's completely gone.
That's right. She is gone.
But you're right. Like she's gonna. Like I think she comes out of the window and attacks him or something. Like she's.
You're right. She does. And that's when Scott turns, right? And
Yeah.
Scott then starts to hold
It
on.
becomes like a 2-on-1 at that point.
Yeah.
But you don't fuck with Ash. That's one thing you learn in the series.
He does at one point run out of shotgun shells and has to go back into the basement to get them.
Yes.
And that's like the really gross scene too, because like
Oh my God. The blood starts trickling.
coming from the
And
from
the
that
outlets.
it's like that
in his
pipe.
mouth.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Oh, he accidentally, the pipe bursts and it just shoots
Yeah.
the blood into his mouth. And that's what I'm saying. This guy has so much blood ingested into his
It's
body.
really gross. How this and like he's bleeding himself, but like most of it's not his. It's just like other people's blood.
Well, anytime something gets stabbed or decapitated or hit, the blood just perfectly shoots into his mouth.
Yeah. So like from where we're watching now, like Cheryl's like popping back in the from outside in the window. He shoots her, and then he remembers he has to like lock both doors, so he's
Yes.
gonna go around the house to make sure the doors are locked so she doesn't get back in. I love how he says the actions too. He goes, the door, the back door. And then when he runs out of shells, he's like, oh, shotgun shells. And he runs downstairs. He like has to like narrate to himself.
He's the only character left, so now he's just talking
He's
to
talking
the
out loud.
audience.
He's talking to the demons.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to do this, so, be ready. Oh.
Yeah, even the blood, just every time. It looks good.
It
though.
looks
really
really
good
good.
for an 80s movie.
I think that $350,000 just went into blood.
Yeah. I mean, that ending scene, though, like, we'll get to it. Man, that scene is so gross with all the weird shit that's in there. All the miscolored fucking mucus.
All right, let's talk about it because it's really all that's left. He gets back upstairs from the basement and he's fighting them, and he notices like the book goes into the fireplace for a bit, and that starts them to start smoking.
Yeah, they start heating up.
Yeah, so he realizes if he burns the Necronomicon, he could stop them. So he's trying to burn the Necronomicon, but like he's also being held down by them.
And she's smacking him with this giant
Fire
poker pole. It's hot in his back. He's a bloody mess. Scott's pulling him. I do like the scene. It's already happened where he puts his thumbs through Scott's eyes.
Yeah.
But then the blood shoots into
In
his
his
mouth
face
again.
So he's using the little thing that he got, magnifying locket, to try to grab one of the notches in the book. 'Cause the book is just like a messy looking weird face that he could just try to grip. And as he's getting pulled back, you don't even see it, but he actually does pull back the Necronomicon and tosses it in the fire, which pretty much ends them.
But now just describe the toothpaste that leaks out and the
amount of colors that come out of these demons, you got blue, you got red. Also, you got they're the rainbow. They're the rainbow of demons because as they start to melt, they turn into like different types of clay and Play-Doh and different types of...
It's claymation, Con.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, can we also talk about how Scott starts to have creamed corn fall out of his sleeve?
That's what I want to talk about. Like, the creamed corn is wild. It's so gross. I love that that's like weird Play-Doh green booger. The tongues are weird. The Necronomicon, the Necrobook.
The Necronomicon is tonguing the fire. But like, yeah, Scott just, this creamed corn starts coming out of Scott.
That's the most disgusting part of the movie for me, is that creamed corn. That Garmin Bozier shit.
Yeah. Oh, and then like cockroaches and other assortment of little bugs come out, and it's just like Ash survived somehow. Bless you. There it is.
It's like this fucking porridge.
Oh.
So I might have guessed that just like these demons when the book burns, like their bones are there, but their flesh is just weird. I want to say just immaterial compost that just gets burned down. Oh, I forgot about this, where the hand comes out of Cheryl's body and his body.
Yeah, and there's just hands, and it's just more blood shoots onto freaking Ash's face. It's just so gross. And they just melt finally. It's over. And Ash is safe to walk out of the cabin. But then they do the classic ending of Evil Dead shot, where you think everything's safe and you think he's a free man, but then you get a POV of something running through the woods, and it just zooms into Ash's face. He goes, ah! And
it ends. Yeah. He destroyed the book, but something else out there? Who knows?
I don't know.
Got to watch the second one.
Yeah.
It's true. It's just one of those things. Like, is it the Force a different entity than the book? Like,
you don't know.
It
Yeah,
could be something, but
that's what made me think. Like, is it something else? Because like I feel like he kind of destroyed the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think it's really cool though. Like, just to say, like, when they like, I'm gonna just use the word combust. There's also like serpents in there. I know you mentioned bugs. There's snakes. Demonic shit. But yeah, that's the Evil Dead.
Yeah. And we enjoyed this so much, we have decided to do the Evil Dead 2 sooner rather than later. We're not doing it next week, but I promise within the next couple of months, we're going to hit Evil Dead 2 because we kind of want to go through the series now. It's kind of like what we did with Scream. We went through a bunch quick. We're going to kind of try to do that with Evil Dead. Nick, I just want to bring this up before we go into our ratings. You are so close to having the most appearances on the podcast.
I'm close.
Nancy did a little twofer before you, and now he's really ahead of you again. But I see you're gunning for him.
As I said, we were tied. We were tied at 10. Now he's at 12. I'm at 11. But I'll make sure I find my time. Make
the journey.
Make the journey. There's still more screams to come out.
There's more Evil Deads. I heard Winnie the Pooh Blind Honey 2 is going to be coming out.
Yeah.
Find out about that one.
All right. So, review time. I fucking love this movie, if you can't tell by how much I basically talked positive about this. Like I said, we're doing nothing but heaters these days. This movie is incredible. Is the effects for a $350 budget with all that blood and all that pus and all that corn is fantastic. No one does slapstick getting thrown into bookcases and shit better than Bruce Campbell.
He's just known for that.
The faces he makes. He is a man who is not afraid to take blood to the mouth. I think this is like literally a peak 80s horror movie.
Yeah.
And it has inspired us to do our theme month next month, which we will say at the end, but I am giving this a 8 out of 10.
Nice, Shane. Strong 7 for me.
Yep.
Real high 7. I really do enjoy this movie. I feel like I've seen it so many times. Doesn't get old. You kind of like see you see the inspiration that has come from like the cabin horror genre from this movie. Like I said, I love the camera shots. I love the cinematography. I love the roving POVs around the cabin to make you think like, oh, something weird is like following them. Is it a demonic presence? Is it a star? Like, you don't even know until you get and hear that phonograph happening. And I just think like the effects are really just like what power this movie through. And like I said, like the grossness of it is just so egregious, but at the same time, It was definitely masterful, and like I said, there's tons of movies that were inspired by this. So, really strong 7 for me. I really like this movie and this director. Obviously, he does Spider-Man movies, but he does come back for some pretty good horror movies as well.
Drag Me to Hell?
That's it.
Which is in the movie I was on as well.
That's a good point.
Oh, that's right.
This is a Sam Raimi trip. For me, I'm going to give it a 7. Yeah, I do think it's just one of those classic horror movies. The one thing for me with this series that maybe brings this movie down is that I feel like it's a memorable movie, but I feel like Army of Darkness is like the most memorable in terms of
They get better.
the
Like,
series.
Okay, so that's the thing.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like the sequels go farther and are a little bit better just because of everything that they do. A little bit more comedic aspect to the sequels.
They go comedy route.
Yeah, but like, and I feel they're a little bit more memorable. That's why I'm going to give the original a 7, but still a great classic horror movie and plenty of gore. If that's what you're in for.
I really like it. Like I said, there's of course like horror movies that are never like the most like they have the most continuity. They did so much with what they had for this. That's why I'm like super impressed. Like my only call out is like I do like the playful element they did to the demons. I do think for some of them they get like a little annoying.
That's fair.
Like
That is very fair.
Linda gets really hard to like stomach at times. I did like Cheryl in the
cellar.
I thought that was just hilarious the whole way through. But I do agree, Nick. Like they do get funnier. Like like this is like more of the horror element, but you could see like the playful demon stuff being funny. But the other ones definitely like scale on the comedy.
100%. All right, Necronomicon, we got 4 big choices. Personally, because I thought his death was the grossest at the very end, I actually want to throw, I can't believe I'm going to say it, I want to throw Scott into the Necronomicon.
Yeah, that's fair. Whew.
There's no shortage of good answers here.
No.
So, like, are we just counting, like, it'd be human death and demon death?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I'm counting the person as the demon as well.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah.
Because like I say, like Cheryl gets her head chopped off, but not Cheryl, Linda. But she's still technically alive after that. But you are so like that's like the one instance where there's like actual death, maybe because most of the times they just transform.
But Scott does die and then comes back and then dies again.
Yeah.
So he gets a twofer. So. And he did get messed up by those trees.
He got fucked up by those
And then
trees.
he literally turned to wet corn.
Yeah.
So
Shelly just gets cut up and like severed in the house. I'm probably gonna go Scott. I think it's gotta be one of the last 2 for me.
Yeah,
like
that's
those
why
are
I was deciding
so.
between Cheryl or Scott, and I was going Scott.
And I think maybe because Scott literally died twice.
Yeah,
I think maybe
I'm gonna go Scott as well. I just like the whole sequence of like the build up, even of him like getting the eyes like pressed in at that last scene and that whole combustion. It's gonna be one or the other, but I think just like I said, maybe Scott died twice, and because of that gruesome piece, I'm gonna go him.
All right, so Scott, you died not once but twice. You died in your human form. You died in your demon form. You were, I'm going to say Scott was sodomized by a tree when he went outside. Off camera, we didn't see it, but...
You don't know what happened to him, so he must have gotten attacked by the woods.
Yeah, because he's got wood in him. I mean, I think why Scott had to go in here is he had everything imaginable done to him. You had your eyes poked out. You had your arms cut. You had hands come out of your back. You melted. We haven't had someone have so much death go into our Necronomicon. You're kind of, I'm going to say it, you might be the king of the Necronomicon. And for that, that's why we're putting you in.
You know what? It makes sense. The movie with the Necronomicon, the king of death in the Necronomicon.
We are now run by Scott.
Scott, just, so much Scott.
It is. Well, with that said, thank you for being on, Nick.
Yeah, Nick was fun. Always a pleasure.
It's always a great time, you know? I'm still, to this day, only have one bad movie under my record.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Hopefully the sequel's better.
Hopefully. Hey, I thought the trailer looked pretty good. Now, before we sign off, Brian has a big announcement for next month.
I do. We've been kind of hyping up what April's going to be, right? And we haven't really done too many themes recently, not last year. So we're going to be hitting a lot of themes coming up. But we had this theme idea last year, I think, even. And like now it's finally come. So it's going to be really exciting to talk about retro reel. Yeah. An entire month of pure vice. Total 80s bangers. And we are starting with Demons.
Yes. The Italian, right? It's an Italian movie.
Italian. Argento produces.
Yep. Demons. It's going to be a fun one. This was my first time watching this movie, and I could say it won't be my last time watching this movie because it was a fun time.
You will see easily the type of film in every episode throughout April because they're all going to have that same retro feel to them. Demons is that, though. It's got like the soundtrack. It's got the style. It's got Reagan. It doesn't have Reagan, but
it could.
And TV doesn't have that either. But
it could.
It's got the Metropole.
It does. It actually does. So, with that said, we are the final podcast signing off, and we will see you next week where you get your popcorn ready and meet us at the Metropole.
That's right. You know where to find us every Monday. www.thefinalpodcast.com. New episodes every week for this show. Beginning of the week, end of the week on Friday for Final Friday, the low budget shit show with Mike G. That's the B show. That's the Bogart show. This is the A show, the actual show, the main attraction. We'll see you next week for Retro Reel, baby.
Let's go.